Hey, my name is Dhanwanth and welcome to the Hindu Temple of Rochester's Balvihar Library System or BLS training. I'll be teaching you how you can use the system to manage library records for the Balvihar class. By the end of this training, you'll be able to organize records, manage the library efficiently, track finds, and many more. You can access the BLS on any device by typing library.htr.org onto any browser. Note that the system is for internal use only and requires dedicated credentials in order to access it. If you need help obtaining these credentials or seek general assistance, please ask one of the Balvihar coordinators or email balviharhtr@gmail.com. After logging in, you'll be taken to the BLS homepage, where you'll find all the resources needed to run the library. The top row of information includes your account name, a logout button to end your session, and a help support button for assistance using the system. Next, you'll find the main navigation buttons that'll take you to the different record tables. The log button will take you to the library log. The archive button will take you to the library archive, and the book list button will take you to the book list. We'll cover these tables in a bit. Below, you'll find the new entry, book ID tool, and new book tabs. These tabs will be the main way you can interact with and manage the system. Before we continue, I'd like to explain a key component of the BLS, the book ID. This unique identifier is on every library book and is made of 3 separate parts separated by hyphens. The prefix represents the specific library the book is located in. The BL prefix, for example, stands for the Balvihar Library. The second part is the unique book number used to identify a particular book. Finally, the last part is the copy number that indicates which specific copy of a book it is. By default, every book will have a copy number of -1, and if there are multiple copies of the same book, the copy number will be increased incrementally. If we had 3 copies of a book named Tales of Krishna, their book IDs might be BL-123-1, BL-123-2, and BL-123-3. We can determine if there are multiple copies of a book by searching for the title in the book list and looking at the different copy numbers. Now let's dive into the record tables, starting off with the library log. This table is where all currently loaned books are tracked. On the left side above the table, there are buttons you can use to change how many records are presented on a page, and you also have the ability to export data in multiple formats. On the right side, you'll find the search bar that can be used to filter through records. The search looks through all the columns, so you can use any column info to search and find a record, which can be extremely useful in certain day-to-day scenarios. You can view additional records by going through the page numbers on the bottom of the page. The column headers on the table can also be ordered in an ascending or descending way by clicking on them. The library log table has 6 data columns for each record. There is patron name, contact information, book ID, issue date, due date, and find amount columns. The contact information field can be a phone number or any other identifying information to reach the patron. The book ID field shows the specific book that was checked out. The issue and due dates show when the book was checked out and needs to be returned. The last data column showcases the fine amount. For the Balvihar Library, if a book isn't returned in a week from the last class session, the patron is fined 25 cents. This fine is for each book that is checked out, so if a patron takes out 4 books and doesn't return them by the next class, their total fine will be $1. This field is calculated based on the issue and due dates, so if there comes a week where there's no class, the Renew All for Holiday Weeks button will need to be pressed in order to extend the due dates of all current records by a week. If you accidentally renewed all records, you can revert the changes by clicking on the Revert Renewal button. Each record table has a Quick Tools column that allows you to get more information or modify a record. The first tool is a shortcut to the Book ID tool. We'll take a deep dive into this page later. The next one is the Edit Entry tool. On this page, you have the ability to edit the book ID, patron name, contact information, issue dates, and due dates. Once finished, you can press the Edit button to save your changes. Let's remove the M in the name field and see our changes. The last one allows you to delete a record. Note that this should be used carefully and only if a record should not exist. You should use the Book ID tool in order to return a book and transfer it from the library log to the archive. Speaking of archive, let's head home and take a look at the library archive table. As you can see, it's similar to the library log table. The table functionality is the same, but the data columns and quick tools have changed a bit. Like I said earlier, the library archive is where all library log records go when they're marked as returned. The patron name, contact information, book ID, issue date, and due date columns represent the same data we saw earlier. The return date column is when the book was marked as being returned, and the fine amount paid column represents how much the patron paid in fines. However, the quick tools are different, as you can no longer edit or access the Book ID tool due to the archived state of the record. If the record was archived by mistake, you can click the green Add button to send it back to the log, or if you want to delete a record, you have the option to do so. Note that again, there isn't a day-to-day scenario where you need to delete a record, and once a record in the library archive has been marked as a return for the past 6 months, it'll automatically get deleted. Let's head back home and now visit the book list. The table is again similar to the other ones, but the data columns have changed quite a bit as the book list holds data on all books that are in circulation. Apart from the familiar book ID column, we have the book name, book category, and additional notes columns. The title of the book goes into the book name column. The specific category the book belongs to in the library goes into the book category column. For example, in a March the book will have a category of ACK. If there is any information that should be included about a book, it's best to put it in the additional notes column. The quick tools are the same as we've seen in the library log. The Book ID button will take you to the Book ID page for that book record. We'll again cover this shortly. The Edit button will take you to the Edit Book page, where you can replace the book's images, book ID, book name, book category, and additional notes. Note that the book category and additional notes fields are optional. You don't need to include information for the additional notes field, but it is highly recommended that you do have information in the book category field. Let's add a category to this record. When we click on the input field, we're given a list of options for the category. This list is made up of all unique categories that have been used in other records, so if the particular category for a book isn't here, you can type something new in, and when you're creating a new book and click on this field, the new category will be added to this list automatically. However, try using an existing category when possible. For now, let's put this book in the Tinkle category and press the Edit button. We can now see that our edit has been completed, and it shows up in the table as well. There's also a Delete button here that can be used to take a book out of circulation. Let's go back home now. Alright, great job. You've learned a key part of the BLS, using record tables. Next up, we'll take a look at how you can add new entries to the library log and book list tables, while also exploring the functionality of the Book ID tool. The New Entry tab is where you'll spend your time during the checkout process. When a patron comes up to you with books, you'll get their name and input that into this field. It's recommended to use their first name and last name initial if necessary. Let's use John, for example. For the contact information, we can put the patron's phone number. If a patron is a child and doesn't know their parents' phone number, you can enter the group they're a part of, or if the patron is a teacher, you can put teacher into this field. Phone numbers that you enter will be automatically formatted. You also have the ability to enter a local number without the 585 area code, and it will be automatically prepended to the inputted number. Let's put 123-456-7890 for this example. Lastly, we need to input the book IDs of the books that are being checked out. Case and spacing doesn't matter, just write the book ID in the format we talked about earlier. If there are multiple books being checked out, you can separate the book IDs with a comma, and separate records will be created for each book ID in the log. Next up, let's take a look at the Book ID Tool tab. This is the tool you use whenever someone wants to return or renew their book. Renewing a record will extend its due date by 1 week. Let's say John wants to return the book he checked out earlier. We can enter the book ID here and press check. This page will show you if the book is available to loan, and if it's already checked out like we have here, we'll show you the data from the library log and book list in a unified interface. Plus, you also have a picture of what the book looks like. We can return the book by pressing the button below. This will take the library log record for this book ID and put it into the archive, just like we talked about before. Let's go back home and into the library log. I'll edit John's other record, and I'll set the issue date a week earlier. I'll also do the same with the due date. Let's press edit and go back to the log. This change will make John's loan overdue and give him a fine amount of 25 cents. Let's try returning the book now. We'll use the Book ID tool shortcut and the quick tools to return it this time. When we press the return button, a new page will appear asking you to confirm the fine amount. If a person paid a different amount for the fine that was accepted, we can enter that here or just press confirm. For now, let's confirm to take this record out of the log. Let's go home and to the library archive to check if the previous records were transferred. By clicking on the return date column header, we can see the records that were added most recently. And now we can see our 2 records for John. As these were test records, let's delete these records from the archive. Now let's go back home and look at the last book ID lookup section. Here, we can enter any book ID prefix and see details about what the next available book ID is, or any holes in the numbering. Let's enter BL here and press lookup. The bulleted IDs are holes that don't exist and have been skipped over. When adding a new book to the circulation, it's recommended that you fill up any holes. Otherwise, the next available book ID we can use for this prefix will be below, which is BL-849-1 right now. Let's go back and look at the last tab now. The New Book tab will allow you to add a new entry into the book list table. Let's make another example record and upload a picture here. When taking a picture, make sure all the text on the cover is clear and there's no cutoff content. Next, we have to give this new book a new book ID. This is where the book ID lookup comes into play. Earlier, we saw that the next available book ID for the BL prefix was BL-849-1. Note that there were holes and should be filled, but for the purposes of this training, we'll use BL-849-1 as your book ID. Also, know that whenever you're adding a new book to the book list, you should go through the book list and search for the book name. If other copies of the book already exist in the library, you should use the same book number and increment the copy number to get the book ID you should use. Let's say that when we search for Abhimanyu in the book list, we found another Abhimanyu book with the ID BL-123-1. We would give our new book a book ID of BL-123-2 as it's the second copy of the book. The next field is the book name field, where you'll enter the main visible title on the book cover. Common practice for magazines such as Tinkle is putting the volume or edition in the title and using Tinkle in the book category. Let's put Abhimanyu here. Remember to check your capitalization and spelling when entering a title. Consistency is key, especially if we need to search for this book later on. For the book category, we'll look through the existing categories, and since the ACK category is in this list, we'll select that. Now there isn't anything notable about the book that we can put in the additional notes field, so now we're clear to create the record. We can check the book list now and search for this book ID. We can see the record has been created, and now we can utilize this book ID reference anywhere else in the BLS. Let's go ahead and delete this test record and head back to the homepage. Congratulations, you've learned how to use the BLS and completed this training. However, the best way to master this system is with practice. Over time and with use, you'll definitely become more comfortable in using the system. If you see an error box or message, find a technical issue with the system, or have feedback and feature requests, you can send an email my way at I'm@Dhanwanth.com. Thanks for listening through this training, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.